When I first embarked on my journey through medical school, life seemed promising. Medical school was my aim since my childhood. My father's profession and my frequent visits to his hospital, accompanying him after school, had indulged into me the desire of becoming a successful doctor like my father. I had always worked hard to achieve my goals and successfully entered a renowned medical school on scholarship. Life in the medical school was not at all easy. It demanded much from me, my time, my passion, my hard work, my determination, and also my capacity to handle school and home side by side, as I had to move away from my home for the purpose. Living alone, I had found only one distraction in this time, and it was my girlfriend Amanda, who was undeniably attractive. While I wouldn't rate her as a perfect 10, she was definitely a solid 7 in my book. But apart from the beauty, I cherished her for being who she was. I was deeply in love with her. Unfortunately, her perception of herself differed greatly from mine. In her eyes, she was a flawless 10, and she made sure everyone knew it. This perception of her inflicted her with pride and ego. She did not consider anyone even equal to her and always considered herself at the top of all. As the demands of medical school began to intensify, my priorities naturally shifted towards my studies. Long hours spent in the library and countless sleepless nights became the norm, yet Amanda's expectations never wavered. She believed that her beauty exempted her from mundane chores and responsibilities. She never bothered to lend a helping hand despite my tough routines. She would never come up to help me in any work, let alone work at her own. I found myself caught in a disheartening cycle. While she considered herself too good for household tasks, I became the sole caretaker of our shared apartment. Cleaning, cooking, and even footing the bills fell squarely on my shoulders. Time that could have been spent on self-care and relaxation was now consumed by menial duties. I was so much consumed by the hectic schedule of my days and nights. I had to attend college early morning, come back to a dirty apartment, clean it up, cook something to eat, then again, give time to my studies for better academic performance. All this was no less than a burden, and had tired me recklessly. As I transitioned into my internship, the pressure multiplied exponentially. The long shifts at the hospital left me physically and mentally drained. There were days when I returned home to a dirty apartment tarnished by neglect. Exhausted as I was, I had no choice but to pick up the broom and mop after a grueling day at work. Neglecting my own well-being became a pattern. Sleep became a luxury, and my appearance suffered the consequences. The stress and lack of time for self-care resulted in weight gain, and I often found myself rushing out the door without even a moment to shave. My physical appearance became worse, and there was no time for me to amend it. Yet, what weighed heaviest on me was Amanda's demeanor. She was not only emotionally abusive but occasionally crossed the line into physical aggression. She would often play the harsh roles a person never can. She would even throw things when her anger raised, and that too without an obvious reason. She did not ever settle the things, rather would ruin the set things. The one person I expected to support me during this arduous journey was the one inflicting pain upon me. It was an excruciating paradox. Deep down, I knew I deserved better. I deserved someone who would appreciate my dedication and commitment to my studies. But despite everything, I loved Amanda. Perhaps it was the fear of loneliness or the hope that things would change. Whatever the reason, I couldn't bring myself to leave her. The only thought of leaving her was painful for me, and I was willing to take all the pain I was going through. Except this parting one. As the months dragged on, the toxic environment took its toll on my mental health. Stress, anxiety, and feelings of inadequacy became my constant companions. The weight of my relationship with Amanda burdened me, further suffocating any flicker of self-confidence that remained. About half a year into my internship, my world came crashing down. It was already a challenging time for me, juggling the demanding tasks of medical school and the pressures of a burgeoning career. Amidst the chaos, I discovered a trail that would forever haunt my heart. I had been in a committed relationship with a woman whom I thought was my rock, my pillar of support. But one fateful day, the truth revealed itself in the most painful way possible. I stumbled upon evidence that shattered my trust and shattered my heart. I learned that my girlfriend had been cheating on me with an art student. She had been there with her the hours when I was busy in the hospital. It had now been months of her new relationship. This was the reason why her behavior had changed for the worst. Though she never had been there for me, nor was there ever any support from her side. But now it had been even weird. She distanced herself completely. She remained quiet whenever I was around. She would avoid me for the times I was home. She was least concerned of my routine or my health. She barely wanted time to spend with me. And if I tried to manage to take out some spare time, she would make some lame excuse to move away. When I learned about her affair and asked her about it, she claimed he was there for her, made her feel special and needed. On asking a simple question, she had raced ready to narrate the good points of her boyfriend. It felt like a knife piercing through my chest, slowly tearing apart everything we had built together. How could she betray our love and turn to someone else in my absence? In a storm of anger and hurt, I confronted her. I demanded an explanation for her actions, hoping for some sliver of understanding or remorse, but all I received were feeble justification and a hollow apology. The words fell flat, unable to mend the cracks in my wounded soul. Things fell apart. Everything finished in a moment. She was ready to leave me, and now I had no other options except to let her go. She had applied for a foreign education program, or maybe it was her best way to move out. She packed her belongings in the span of 2 days and went to Europe. I was left alone with the burden of this affair and the tough shifts I had to run in the hospital. Fast forward a few years, and I found myself standing on the precipice of a successful career as a doctor. The arduous journey of residency was finally coming to an end, and the promise of financial stability loomed on the horizon. Amidst the chaos of my demanding schedule, an unexpected message appeared on my phone screen. She, the one who had once held my heart captive, had suddenly reappeared in my life. Memories of our tumultuous past resurfaced as I hesitantly read her words. She informed me that she was now in a master's program in Europe and wants to reconnect. Curiosity stirred within me, wondering how time may have changed her. The allure of revisiting our shared history pulled at my heartstrings. I contemplated the possibility of rekindling the flames that had once burned brightly. However, I could not help but recall the emotional scars she had inflicted upon me, scars that had not yet fully healed. As we engaged in FaceTime and Skype conversations, it became evident that not much had changed. The toxicity that had tainted our previous relationship still lingered beneath her facade. Her words cut deep, echoing the same patterns of verbal abuse that haunted our past. Nothing had changed her, and it was for sure that nothing would ever change her. I found myself at a crossroads, torn between the longing for companionship and the desire to protect my own well-being. I realized that I cannot allow myself to fall back into a destructive cycle, determined to break free from the shackles of her toxicity. I hatched a daring plan. I proposed a challenging ultimatum designed to test her commitment and genuine intentions. I told her that if she truly wanted another chance with me, she must abandon her master's program in Europe and relocate to the United States within 3 months. I knew this was a significant sacrifice for her, given that she was only 6 months away from graduation, and as far as I knew her, she would not give up her studies just for the sake of me. Expecting resistance, I braced myself for her reaction. To my surprise, she reluctantly agreed, perhaps believing that this will somehow bind me to her through marriage. Little did she know this was not my true intention. In reality, I had set this ultimatum as a litmus test, a test of her willingness to change, to show me that she has grown and matured. It was a ploy to protect myself from the emotional turmoil I had endured before. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months as the deadline approached. I watched with a mix of curiosity and skepticism, wondering if she would honor her commitment or falter under the weight of her own insecurities. Eventually, the moment of truth arrived. She arrived in the state standing before me. Her eyes filled with uncertainty. I could sense the vulnerability in her demeanor, a flicker of hope mixed with fear. With a newfound clarity, I confronted her about my true intentions. I explained that this ultimatum was never about marriage or control. It was about her proving that she could change, that she could treat me with the respect and love I deserve. I told her of my true intentions, blocked her on all my accounts, and vowed to never speak to her again. I threw out her luggage out myself this time and closed all the doors, the ones to my house and to my heart. Silence hung in the air as she absorbed my words. I saw a flicker of understanding in her eyes, a glimmer of remorse. Slowly, she began to apologize. The weight of her apologize, the weight of her past actions finally sinking in, but my decision was final. And I had no intentions to look upon it for a review. I had decided to stay away from her after lending her the hurt I had received. As the air cleared, we found ourselves standing at a crossroads once again. The wounds of the past had not vanished, but perhaps they could heal with time. I still remember the day I finally broke free from the toxic grip of my cheating girlfriend. It was a mix of relief, sadness, and a surge of newfound determination that flooded my entire being. For far too long, I had allowed myself to be deceived, blinded by love and the false promises she whispered into my ear. The breakup wasn't easy. There were tears, arguments, and bitter accusations hurled back and forth, yet in the midst of the emotional turmoil, I found a glimmer of hope. I knew that separating from her was the best decision I could ever make for myself. Little did I know just how much that decision would change my life. As time went on, I heard whispers of her life post-breakup. It seemed that she was now floating from couch to couch, relying on the charity of a few friends she had made in Europe. Gone were the days of lavish dinners, expensive gifts, and grand adventures. Instead, she resorted to begging for handouts and occasionally seeking the company of older men who were willing to throw money at her in exchange for fleeting companionship. While I could have relieved myself in the satisfaction of her downfall, I chose a different path. I turned my focus inward, determined to rebuild my life and emerge from the wreckage stronger than ever. I threw myself into my work, finding solace and purpose in the daily challenges it presented. The long hours and demanding projects kept my mind occupied, leaving little room for thoughts of her. During this time I rediscovered the value of true friendships. I leaned on my closest companions who had witnessed my struggle and offered unwavering support. They became my pillars of strength, reminding me of my worth and helping me to see beyond the pain. Together, we created new memories, shared laughter, and formed an unbreakable bond that carried me through the darkest of days. As the months passed, I began to feel a newfound sense of freedom and self-assurance. I embraced the opportunity to explore new hobbies and interests that had long been neglected. I traveled to places I had always dreamed of visiting, meeting new people, and immersing myself in different cultures. I became the author of my own story, no longer bound by the shackles of a toxic relationship. Through this journey of self-discovery, I realized that I had emerged from the wreckage, stronger and more resilient. I learned to value my own worth, never again settling for less than I deserved. The scars left behind by her betrayal became reminders of the lessons learned, not sources of pain or regret. Meanwhile, her life took a different turn. I heard whispers of her struggles, of the empty promises she made and the bridges she burned, but instead of reveling in her misfortune, I chose to focus on my own growth. I learned to forgive, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger and resentment would only keep me tethered to the past, preventing me from embracing the bright future that awaited me. And so I moved forward. The man who had once been broken by betrayal had been reborn stronger than ever before. I learned to love and trust again, opening my heart to someone who saw my worth and cherished it. Together, we built a foundation of honesty, respect, and unwavering loyalty. Looking back now, I realize that the end of that toxic relationship was the catalyst for my personal transformation. It taught me the importance of self-love, the power of resilience, and the beauty of second chances. I no longer carry the weight of her deceit, but instead I carry the lessons learned into my soul as a reminder of the person I have become. And it gave me the determination to focus more over my career. The medical school had taught me enough, and especially to revenge the mistreat. And so did I take my revenge and would remember the betrayal lifelong. Stop. Most of you are not subscribed. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the video. Everything helps for the algorithm.